Hi, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna be cooking with my kids in the kitchen and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So remember to subscribe and let's get into this video. So at the beginning of the summer, we made a list of breakfast and lunch, like specific things we're gonna have every single day. Just because my kids, we had never done anything like that before, and my kids had gotten so used to just, okay, we'll have cereal, okay, what am I gonna eat now? Or they'd have a sandwich, and it was just either the same things or they just didn't know what to make at all. And so I had seen several homeschoolers doing lists and I was like, okay, we'll try that. And some of the things have worked really well. Other things we've changed. Some days we have breakfast have been better. Lunches sometimes are the same and sometimes aren't. So those ones are a little bit more sporadic. But it's worked really well. And over the course of the summer, I have seen my kids' competence in the kitchen just grow. They've become better at reading recipes. They know where stuff is in the kitchen. They can make most of these recipes like completely by themselves. You know, I help a few things here and there with, you know, if there's like a knife involved or something that's a little bit more tedious, meticulous, or something like that, that just needs to be a certain way, then I'll help with it. But otherwise, they just go for it and they have lots of fun, and it's been fun to see them grow. So we're gonna start off with the first recipe, which is muffins. And so we usually have muffins Monday morning for breakfast. And so we spend Sunday afternoon making muffins. And at this particular time, we did not make the muffins on Sunday because I choose not to work on Sunday. And so we made them Monday and had them Tuesday for breakfast. But normally it's our Monday morning breakfast, which is nice for us on Sunday. It's time for us to spend together after church and we get to make muffins together. And it's been a lot of fun. So we tried out several different recipes, mostly lemon or like cinnamon like muffins is what we kind of worked with. Well, maybe we'll try more fall things as we're going into fall right now, but that's kind of what we started working with. And we found a few that we like the most. And so those are the ones we're gonna show you today because those are the ones we've been consistently making. And so we have a cinnamon muffin that's like a donut hole basically. And everybody really loves that one a lot. It has cinnamon sugar on the outside. And then we have a lemon poppy seed muffin. And so that's the other one we're going to show you. So let's get in the kitchen. I believe I have my daughter helping with the cinnamon muffins and my son is going to help with the lemon poppy seed. So we're gonna go watch them at work. Okay, so here are the ingredients for our cinnamon muffins. So we have baking powder, we have flour and sugar, and then some nutmeg and a whole stick of butter. We double this recipe, so this is double the butter you need for the normal amount, and the same with milk. And then we do a topping for it, so it will be butter and cinnamon and sugar. So we already have the sugar here, so that's that. And then we also have a huge mini muffin pan. You could use 2 small ones, or if you're not doubling, you just could use 1 small mini muffin pan. So that's our supplies. Okay, first I wanna let you know we doubled this recipe, so all the measurements I'm giving you are doubled. And so we did 1 cup of sugar, and now we're doing 1 stick of butter, which is a half a cup, and we're gonna melt it. And she remembered to put a paper towel on the top so it doesn't splatter everywhere all over the microwave. So I was grateful for that. And then we have a friendly baby in the background having a blast with all of us. He's just so cute. And then we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of nutmeg. And this is actually something she loves. She loves nutmeg, which is kind of impressive and surprising to me because that's not a taste. Sorry, I'm smiling at my son in the background. It's not a taste that everybody likes. And then 1 cup of milk. And so we're just kind of mixing as we go. He's such a goofball. And then 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I love that she's like double checking the recipe as she goes, make sure she's getting everything right. And then we're gonna put in 2 cups of flour. And again, mix it up. And she is having way too much fun mixing everything. And then we're gonna scoop these into our muffin pan, and I'm just using a 2 teaspoon scooper, and it's like the perfect size. I usually scoop these because if my kids scoop them, they are uneven, and with this recipe, it's really, really important that they stay even or they bake all wonky. And we're gonna bake them at 375 for 15 minutes. That's, at least in my oven, that's like the perfect temperature. And while that's baking, she's making the topping. So she's going to melt 1.5 sticks of butter. The recipe, it would be a stick for a doubled, but they use way too much butter. So we always melt a little bit more. And then it's gonna be a cup of sugar and a teaspoon of 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon is what she's putting in there. And then we have our muffins all done, and my daughter's taking them out and just putting them on a rack. And we put paper towels underneath just because once you dip them and put the sugar all over them, it's gonna make a mess. So here she is dipping them in the butter, and then she puts them in the cinnamon and sugar. Okay, so here are the ingredients for the lemon poppy seed muffin. So we need some flour, some sugar, baking powder, lemons. I add more lemon than they ask, so that's why I have 4. You probably only need like 2 because you use it for the glaze as well. So it calls for lemon juice and lemon zest. So we have all those, and then we have poppy seeds, half a stick of butter, not a half a stick, yes. This is a stick of butter, not a half a stick. We'll get it right. And then we have 2 eggs and some vanilla, some milk, and we'll use a little bit of sour cream. And then I have 2 pans here. It will fill 1 whole pan, and then usually like 3 or 4, just depending on the day, of another pan. So I just spray either 2 or 3 or 4 of these, depending how much batter we have left once we fill up 1. And then we'll cook those together. Okay, so we're gonna start out with 2 cups of flour. We're mixing all the dry ingredients first and put them in a bowl. And we're doing 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and we don't usually add the half a teaspoon of salt, but you can do that. And then whisk it up just to kind of get rid of all those lumps. And then we're gonna put 3/4 of a cup of sugar in this bowl, and he's gonna melt the butter. And he had a heck of a time getting it out of the wrapper because he wouldn't undo the sides. And he does not use a paper towel, if you've noticed. And so he's gonna melt that butter, and I'm doing the zest just because if my kids might cut their fingers. They have tried and they have cut their fingers. See, he's given it a go. But I usually am the one doing it, or I'm helping him out quite a bit. And then you kind of whisk together the sugar and zest, and he's gonna add the butter into here and then mix it as he goes. He's doing such a good job. And then he's going to put the milk in, and that's 1 cup of milk, or 3/4 of a cup of milk, sorry. So 3/4 of a cup of milk is going in there. And then here's the lemon juice. He's trying so hard. These lemons were so hard. And it's 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, but I just do lemon juice from 2 lemons because I really like a good lemon flavor. So I guess you can decide what you want to do. And then we're going to add some vanilla. It's about a teaspoon. And then 2 tablespoons of sour cream. We just kind of do a couple spoonfuls and call that good. And then we're going to put the eggs in. So it's just 2 eggs. And this is like my kids' favorite part. They love cracking the eggs for some reason. And usually I don't let him crack them right into the bowl, but I did that day and he actually did a really good job doing it. Didn't get any shells in or anything. And then he's gonna start mixing that all together. And then just in a few minutes, you're gonna hear commentary from him and my daughter because I had to leave and go pick up our other daughter. And so they continued to make the batter without me. And I just thought it was too funny not to leave in here.
No, you have to finish. So, well, he's doing that. So, he stirs that all together. Here. So, I'm just holding.
Just a little.
No, add in all of it. Here.
No, just a little bit.
Mom says to add in all of it.
But
Just me.
mixing it, then you add in more.
Mom says mixing it too much is bad. Just add the rest of it in for this one.
Okay, that's mixing.
Add the rest of it.
That's fluffy.
And we stir it all together. It's gonna get really thick. Here, let me see the instructions.
Okay. I'm gonna split. I need to see how many poppy seeds you need. Something. There's some tablespoon. Here, I'll get my tablespoon.
So while he's doing that, okay, now we have the poppy seeds. Okay.
The poppy seeds is the most important part because they have
So the poppy seeds, we need 1 tablespoon.
That is one of these.
And then we pour it in.
I sprinkle them. Now, Mickey.
What does that look like?
Now turn it off.
No, I won't not. Silly.
It's done.
See what the dough looks like. Still have some a little on the others. Yep, right there.
That's all for today.
There's a whole bunch of it. Here. We have delicious lemon.
Now,
Okay,
bye.
I think it was this one.
Okay, so when I got back from getting my daughter, they had done a really good job at finishing the batter, and I told them they could not put it in the oven, that I would be in charge of doing all that when I got back. My husband was home, but I didn't want them to do all that by themselves. So I scooped all the batter into the tin, and it filled, was it 3? I think 3 extra ones and another one. It's sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Then I put it in a 400-degree oven and cook them for about 15 minutes. Again, it depends on the oven. And here they are, all beautimous afterwards. And then I'm gonna make the glaze. It's 1 cup of icing sugar, and I think I was using a half a cup there, which is why I did 2. And then it says 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, and it just kind of depends on how runny you want it or how not. You know, you find the consistency you like. And so I just put some juice in of a lemon from the lemons until it's the consistency that I think is good, good enough for putting over the lemon muffins. And then this is what I like to do. I like to put just a Ziploc baggie in a cup. It makes it easy to pour the icing in. So we're just putting the icing in, then I'll cut a little hole in the very corner of the bag, and my kids can ice the muffins really easily. And this is one of their favorite things to do. They love it. And he's doing all sorts of decoration as well. And then he gets to try one because he made them, and he is very, very excited about that. Okay, so the next recipe we're gonna show you is French toast sticks. So originally, this is like our Tuesday and Thursday morning breakfast. Originally, this was egg McMuffin type sandwiches, but I would like home make the biscuits and all that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit labor intensive, which I still don't mind doing it occasionally. But my kids, they're not always my kids' favorite. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're like, it's too soggy when you have to reheat it. So maybe eventually we'll show you that recipe, but not today. So we switched it to French toast sticks because that's a lot easier and much faster. And my kids always fight over who gets to dip the sticks because we dip them, cook them, and then freeze them and reheat them. And so they fight over who gets to dip them. I guess they just like to get their hands really messy. So my almost 8-year-old is the one that's gonna be helping me in this video, in this segment. I sound like I'm on national television. This segment you're about to see, he's the one that's gonna be helping me, and he loves getting messy. So let's go to him and see how to make these French toast sticks. Okay, so here are the ingredients for French toast sticks. I have some Texas toast. This is just Great Value brand. It's nothing fancy. And then these are leftovers. We don't always have enough egg to dip them all in, so I just put them in the freezer. So we're gonna use the leftovers today. You need some eggs, some milk, and then sugar, and some butter. It will melt that, and then some vanilla and cinnamon. And the recipe calls for a little bit of salt. I have been omitting salt. If you've seen my recent health update, you'll know why. And so a lot of things we haven't been making with salt unless we just add a little bit usually. Anyway, so I don't put the salt in, but you can put a little bit of salt in this recipe. Okay, so I'm gonna make the mixture to dip all this French toast in. So this is 2 cups of milk. I am doubling everything. And then I'm gonna do 7 eggs in here. So I did them in 2 different batches of 7 eggs. And then I melted a stick of butter. It's 3 tablespoons per batch. But instead of just doing 6 tablespoons, I'm like, just melt the whole stick of butter. So I did, and just put that in, and it's totally fine. And who doesn't want more butter? And then I put in about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I always just eyeball vanilla. And then 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and then 4 tablespoons of sugar. And again, you can put a little bit of salt in here if you want to. We just haven't been adding salt. And then I'm gonna mix it in my blender, which I love. And then I just put it in a bowl that makes it easy to dip the sticks in. And then I am cutting up 2 loaves of Texas toast, and I just cut them into thirds basically. And that works really well for us, and it's like a good size for my kids. And so that's what I'm doing here. I use a serrated knife because that's just a lot easier. And I try to cut them all at the beginning. As you can see, now we have a masterful pile of French toast sticks. And then my son is dipping them. You can tell that he loves to get his hands all gross and dirty. And it's just, they fight over who gets to do this because they just love it so much. I guess that's fine as long as they want to do it and I don't have to do it. I don't mind at all. And so I think we made like 5 or 6 sheets this time because I made even another batch. Like I tripled the recipe, I think, this time. And so we had several trays full. And then I cook them on at 350 and for about 20 minutes. Sometimes I flip them at the end of the 20 and cook them for another 5 minutes. It just kind of depends, but here's some of the trays. And then I like, once they cool a little bit, to try to scoot them on as little of sheet pans as possible because I'm gonna flash freeze them. And I only have so much space in my freezer. And so I kind of squish them together now that they're all cooked so that I can get the sheets in the freezer because I just don't have room for all of them if we don't do this. And so that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm putting that one in the freezer, and then I have a big freezer in my basement. And so there's 3 sheets down there. After these have frozen for an hour or 2, I put them in bags and then put them back in my freezer until we're ready to use them. And then we've been cooking them in the air fryer because we like them a little crunchy. So I'll set the air fryer at 400 degrees and cook them for about 2 minutes on one side, flip them over, cook them for 2 more minutes with 8 sticks in the basket, and then put them on a plate with some syrup. So the last food item before we get to the snack is pizza. So Wednesday at lunchtime has become our pizza day, and we make it from scratch. More like my daughter, who's 9, makes it from scratch. And so she'll make the dough, and it's a recipe, a dough, like a French dough recipe that I have been making since I was little. I believe my grandma was the one that first had it, and so I don't know exactly where it's from. But I can try to list recipes down below if you're interested in those things, and maybe put a screenshot of that French bread recipe in here because it's just so old. I don't even know where it's from. But that's the dough she's gonna be making, and over the course of the summer, she has now memorized the recipe, and she makes it by herself besides lifting the mixer because that's heavy. And she can't do that. And so our mixer sits in our pantry, and so I lift it up on the counter for her. But other than that, she's memorized the whole thing, and she's gotten really good at recognizing when the dough is a little bit sticky and stuff and might need a little bit more flour, and she might ask me for help to make sure she gets it the right consistency. But she does a really good job, and then she'll pull out all the toppings for it, and everyone makes their own individual pizza. She'll divide it up, and then I'll usually use half the dough to make one bigger pepperoni pizza. And that's what we do on Wednesdays, almost every single Wednesday, and my kids love it. They look forward to it. They really enjoy being able to make their own pizza, and it's just fun to see. Sometimes it's fun to see their creation. Sometimes they get a little crazy, but it's really fun to see what they come up with from week to week. So let's go see how to make this pizza. Okay, so here I have the ingredients for the pizza dough. So we need some sugar, some flour, salt, some type of oil. This is vegetable oil, I believe. You can use olive oil, canola oil, whatever kind that you have. And then some yeast, and then I put this here to remind me to say water, because you'll need some water. So a measuring cup and some water. Okay, then here are the toppings we use. We keep it very simple. So we just have tomato sauce. You can use whatever, I guess pasta sauce, whatever kind you like. You could use just regular tomato sauce from a can if you wanted to as well. And then we like to put a little Italian seasoning on it just to add some more flavor. There's pepperonis and mozzarella. You could obviously pick whatever toppings you want with vegetables or sausage or whatever, but this is just what we do from week to week because it's very, very simple and easy to have on hand. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a 1.5 cups of warm water, and we're gonna add a tablespoon of sugar to it and a tablespoon of yeast, and we're gonna let that sit for a few minutes and just let it bloom and get nice and happy and foamy because yeast is better that way. And then we're gonna put in 2 tablespoons of oil. So that's what my daughter is doing here. After it kind of puffs up a little bit, we're gonna put the oil in. And then we're gonna add 4 cups of flour. As you can see her, she's gonna add this flour. And then after she adds the flour, she's gonna do a teaspoon of salt. And usually 4 cups of flour is sufficient for this recipe. It just kind of depends. Some days you might accidentally add a little bit more water or your flour is not quite as full. And so this day we did have to add more flour. And so she's gonna put it on the mixer with a dough hook and we're gonna mix it up and we're gonna see that it's a little bit sticky. And so just add a little bit of flour at a time. You don't wanna, she's being such a goofball. We don't wanna add too much flour because we don't want it to be dry. And so we just added a little bit at a time until we got a really good dough. It took a couple measurements, I think a couple more 1/2 cups basically of flour because it's still sticking to the bottom and you don't want it sticking to the bottom. And she's getting the sheets already. We have the 2 silicone mats and then we use parchment for the other one since we don't have another silicone mat. And then see, we come back to the dough and it's still struggling a little bit. So we put a little bit more flour in it. And then this time it is good. It looks really good right here. It's not sticking to the bottom of the bowl. So she's gonna take the dough out here and she's gonna divide it in half. And then she's going to take one of those halves and divide it into 4s for all of the kids to make their own pizzas. And then I use the really big half to make a bigger pizza for me and my husband or for someone to have as leftovers or whatever we decide to do. So here she is cutting it into quarters for her and the kids to make their own pizza. And then here they're having just fun. I just kind of let them go to town within reason and build their own pizzas, and they all do different things every week, so it's kind of funny to see what they decide to do. And then once they're done with their pizzas, we're gonna put them in the oven at like 450 degrees, 475, and I have it on convection bake so I can put everybody's pizzas in at the same time. And then you just have to watch them. I just take them out when they get a like darker golden brown. I don't have a specific time that you could take them out. There's a lot of baking and cooking that just requires you looking at it and filling it and knowing when it's supposed to be done, and that's how these pizzas are. And so here's my sons finishing up their pizza so we can get theirs in the oven as well. And then I'll make the bigger pizza. And I don't know what this is, a mountain of some sort. And so I'm making the bigger pizza here, just rolling it out and putting it on the parchment, which I don't love. It sticks really well to the silicone mats, but the parchment paper just rolls up. And so I was having a heck of a time trying to get it to stay. And then I just put some pasta sauce on it and some Italian seasoning usually, and then some mozzarella, and we ran out. So I had to open the new bag. So put lots of mozzarella on there. And then I cover ours pretty good with pepperonis, and I don't eat much pizza anymore because all these things have lots and lots of salt in them. But my husband loves lots of pepperonis, so I try to cover in a ton of pepperonis for him. And then here they all are in the oven. And like I said, you just kind of have to watch them and get a feel for when they're done. And then this is what they look like when they're all cooked. And there's our, whatever that thing is, the mountain. And here's me and my husband's pizza. And it's just so rustic and pretty. Okay, so the last thing I have to share with you is a snack. They're protein bites, and there's something that, you know, they're a little healthier. And so at the beginning of the summer, we made the rule to have my kids, they have to take something from the fridge before they get a snack from the pantry. That was kind of a Jordan Page thing here on YouTube. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna try this, because they just were eating a lot of like Cheez-Its and Goldfish and all that kind of stuff, you know, which isn't horrible, but it's also not the best. So I wanted them to start with something like a cheese stick or a string cheese or these like protein bites. They go in the fridge, or a yogurt or some fruit. You know, we have apples that they can easily grab, or carrots or something like that, before they go to the pantry and have a snack from there. So that's kind of why we've been making these protein bites more, is so, because it's like my kid's favorite thing to pull from the fridge, because it's like sort of a treat, but not, you know, it has chocolate chips in it, but it also has flax seeds and peanut butter. So it has like some good things in it too. But my oldest, my 10-year-old, he's almost 11, is going to show us how to make these protein bites. And again, we just really enjoy them. They're very easy, just a simple little, you roll it in a ball and just pop it in your mouth type of a snack. And so let's get into the kitchen and see him make these protein bites. Okay, here are the ingredients for protein bites. So we have some oatmeal, we have ground flaxseed, I just buy this at Walmart, and then we have semi-sweet chocolate chips, some creamy peanut butter, and some honey. Okay, so we are doubling this recipe, and we usually do about 1.5 cups of peanut butter. The recipe says 2/3 of a cup, but it just usually is a little bit dry. So we usually add more, and then we microwave it just a little bit. It just makes everything easier to mix in, but just don't put the chocolate chips in right after that, because you'll melt them. So we're gonna do 2 cups of oatmeal in here. That's what my son is doing. And then we're going to put some ground flax seeds. I love that I can just buy it all ground at Walmart. It makes it so nice. So this is 1 cup of ground flaxseed, and then we're going to do some honey. We're doing 4 tablespoons, and it's really nice if you spray the little container you're doing the honey in, because it will just come out so much easier. And so here he's doing the other 2 tablespoons for us. I have this cute little shot glass that measures. We use it for measuring small liquid amounts, and so he's putting it in there. And then the last thing will be 1 cup of chocolate chips. And like I said, you want to put this in last. If you put it in the somewhat warm peanut butter, you know, we just put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds, but it's warm enough that it will melt the chocolate chips. And then after it's all mixed up, we use a 1.5 tablespoon scooper. You could use any size, but that's what we've been using to scoop them out onto a mat, a silicone mat. And then we put them in the freezer just to get them to set. And I put them in a bag after that and just set them in the drawer in our fridge. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed cooking with my kids today. Again, it's been so fun to see their progress and how more competent they feel in the kitchen, as they have been there a lot all summer, and I really, really enjoy seeing them. And it takes a lot of load off of me, because they can just go make stuff and I don't have to worry about it. So it's been really nice. But if you would like to see more of these types of videos of us cooking, or even just me cooking, because we make a lot of stuff from scratch, please let me know down in the comments, maybe what you'd like to see, or like easy recipes for kids or things like that, and I can make more videos like this for you. And remember to give me a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.